And what's really weird is they like took biopsies of her ovaries. So I believe they're doing something reproductive with her. And they inverted her intestines because they want to deal with like the colon and the ovary. That's because they're doing like their race is they're concerned about the longevity of their race. So they've been using our DNA to create hybrids. So they had used her for that program, and they literally inverted her small and large intestine while they were at it. And I believe that the hospital was in on it because they wouldn't let her see this. They wouldn't let her see what it looked like. And that hospital has done some other like really sketchy stuff too.
Well, it's your boy Dustin from the Flying Chair. It's the Rise podcast. And I got a special guest today, Phoenix Lux. And she's got some stories to tell. And she's a UFO enthusiast and had her experiences herself. And I'm very interested in hearing these stories. So, yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and where you grew up and what sparked your interest in UFOs?
Okay, so I come from a pretty unique background that doesn't really match my physical appearance in a typical way. So my mom and my dad are two Harvard educated physicians who also taught at Harvard University. My dad is a cardiologist, my mom is a surgical oncologist, and I guess to pay for the residencies, well, sorry, not to pay for the residencies, that's incorrect. To pay for medical school, they agreed to do some time in the military. So they also served in the Air Force. So I was born in the Air Force Base. And then the rest of my family, they worked for the CIA. My aunt used to read the president's book. And then my uncle was he was an operative, which a lot of people like gather intelligence, but they're not operatives. So he was actually out on the field. He also taught intelligence. So he knows like I think 6 of the government's biggest secrets, and then a lot of other like little ones. And then my other cousins are also in the CIA in high places,
Jeez.
mostly translating things. Yeah. So I come from like a family that has like a good deal of information in terms of all of this because it's all linked in, obviously. Although I didn't know that it was for a very long time. So I grew up. I was born in the military base, and I started having experiences that were like paranormal before I was a year old. It was my first memories. I think they just didn't think they needed to wipe them because I guess they probably assumed that I would never remember that, or I was like too young to remember. So I think those are the ones they didn't bother wiping. So I started having experiences when I was about 6 months old, and then I moved to Dallas, Texas, and that's where I grew up for the most part. And then kind of all over since there. I lived for a year in Washington, D.C. with my CIA relatives, and lived in Utah, Hawaii, where else? In Michigan mostly. I spent most of my like 20s in Michigan. What else did you want to know, or more about my
No,
experience?
it's cool. So your family was stationed in all these states that you were just
Oh no,
bouncing
they only
around
did
at
like four
first?
years in the military, and then they were out. But I was born there, and I think that's the reason that this stuff started happening to me at
Sure.
such a young age in my labs. Yeah.
Yeah, because you hear cases about people's families who are in these military bases or in programs, space,
Yeah.
even the space programs. They
Yep. It took me forever to figure this out. Yeah.
they indoctor their the offsprings of these families
Mm-hmm.
too. So
Yeah.
yeah, so it's
Yeah,
like
they own your children. That's in the
yes.
contract pretty much in like fine print. Yeah. So
No, it's so cool. So yeah, what else sparked your interest in UFOs in general? Like, was it like a kid, like your childhood kid? Like when I was a kid, I was like obsessed with going to the library and checking out the UFO books and just being blown away by the pictures, and it's like,
yeah.
what the
Yeah.
fuck is this? you know?
Right. Well, I think it kind of found me with the UFO thing in particular. Um, I mean, I just would hear random stories we all do about people who encountered them, and then the police say not to say anything, and law enforcement and military always come by afterwards, and they're like, you need to keep quiet about this. So, I mean, I would hear rumors, from like the hairdresser and just other random people. But I think like what really sparked my interest in like not just the UFO community, but just understanding what's going on in general is more so just I had these memories that just didn't really make sense. And like it gave me this knowledge at a very young age that something was, really wrong, or like there's something that we're just not being told about. There's something weird about this reality that I needed to figure out. So I mean, even from like the age of like 6 onwards, I was interested in learning what that was and
Hmm,
researching, mythical creatures or things like
sure.
that.
And was your family religious, or is
Yeah,
religion
they're
not really?
Catholic. They're actually,
Okay.
I don't understand it at all. I mean, I don't understand how you can know everything that they know and still be
Yeah.
religious or not understand that the Vatican. I mean, the Vatican, like the name of the Vatican is divining serpents. I mean, the reptilians are like
Yes.
running that
Yes.
place underground. So I don't completely understand why they still buy into that, but they do. I know my uncle's actually worked in the Vatican, in the underground tunnels. So
I heard
like,
some really interesting shit about the Vatican. Like,
yeah,
yeah, you're right. The underground basement tunnels, and then I heard like
yeah.
even like weird machines that they have there, like this like
The
time
chronovisor.
machine. You heard
Yeah,
about that?
the chronovisor, right? The thing that
Yeah,
can
where
look
you
into
could see
past movies.
Jesus getting like crucified and
Crucified.
shit.
Yeah, yeah. That
Weird.
and then I mean, obviously it's the reptilians. The place means divining serpents. They have pictures of reptilians and
They do.
frescoes all over the Vatican interior. It's very obvious. They have like the picture of the snake
No, you're
behind the
right.
thing. Yeah, a lot of upside down crosses. And that big sculpture that they erected, it's like reptilians coming out of my some sort of certain like thing, I think. So I mean it's very obvious. I don't really understand, but yes, my parents and my whole family is very religious. They take it really
Hmm,
seriously. Probably has a lot to
right.
do with the fact that I mean they saw people literally worshiping like this for so they assume, that they'd like to hope. But anyway.
And in Hollywood,
Yeah.
Jesus,
Mhm.
maybe is P. Diddy a reptile? Is he
Let's see,
drinking
I
children's blood
probably like
and
I think
having
maybe it's hard to
crazy
know if people
orgies?
are full blown like reptilian or if they're just like channeling a spirit, because there's a
Sure.
difference. I think both. I mean, you could say I'm kind of confused about reptilians, like what they even are. So sometimes I feel like they are kind of like the demons that you hear about in religion, um, because
There's theories
yeah, they're like
like
negatively polarized, right? So if
like
that's your demon, and they're fifth dimensional, so and that's supernatural, right, to a human, normal
right. And
human.
then I don't know if you know David Icke and his
Yeah, yeah,
theories, right? Like they live in a different uh 'cause we only see it at a certain frequency. They live in a different
right.
frequency and then they
Mhm.
can control certain people and certain politics. And that's
Yeah,
how the world is how it is today because of these entities that have
yeah.
been here since the
These
dawn of time.
Anunnaki motherfuckers, yeah.
Yes,
I've
the
100%.
Anunnaki.
The government, yeah, like the government and stuff is really they're aliens. 100%. I know that for sure.
Yeah.
Which from my aunt and her responses to things. I've like tested her. She gets annoyed, but I don't know. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to. She hasn't ever like broken code or anything, but I can just put two and two together on a lot of things. When I first started looking into even like opening my third eye, she freaked out and she's like started crying and was like, "You need to leave that alone." And I'm like, "Why?" And she's like, "Because you're gonna see some things that you can't like unsee." And I think she was talking about that type of thing. So and I thought it was like weird. I didn't understand why someone working for the government would be knowledgeable about or interested in the third eye.
Hmm.
I assumed she's just like ignorant or religious, but over time I realized, the CIA is basically aliens, psychic abilities, and crime under the government's doing under the guise
Yeah.
of. So I mean that's primarily what the CIA like even is like. Why would you need it to be a secret if that wasn't true?
True.
So
And then I was just gonna say, like, there's got to be some federations going on with all these other entities, because
yeah,
there's got to be other races of ETs visiting Earth constantly, where there's other ones have to like make sure they're not coming here to be hostile. And there's gonna be set
yeah, it's hard to even
rules.
know who's completely in charge. It seems like there's so many different factions of both negative and positive
Yes.
entities that are coming, yeah, in and out
Yeah.
of this place. Yeah,
No, it's and then I think Harvard just came out with a study saying that
they did. Isn't
they
that funny? Yeah, that
that
Harvard did
they
that.
are living
Yeah.
amongst us. It's just like,
Hmm.
yeah, duh.
I know, right? It's kind of funny that they're saying like there's some sort of study. Like, how do they think? I'm confused as to what they would tell a brainwashed population that they have that would prove that that's the case. You know what I mean? Do you have some
Yeah.
sort of machine that can like test for shape shifting? Yeah,
Right.
I don't know, but yeah,
No,
that's great.
it's no, it's amazing, and it's yeah. Again, they've been here since, especially like Kukulkan in South America with the pyramids there, then but they were worshiping the serpent god.
Yeah.
It's
Aren't
just
most
like
pyramids aligned with Orion's belt anyway? And I know the ones
yeah.
in Egypt, they're aligned with the
And the
coordinates of the speed of
Draco,
light.
I think that
Yeah.
even the Draco star cluster too.
Yeah. Wait, aren't a lot of the Dracos from Orion? That's the impression I was under.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's fascinating. And
And then
yeah,
the
again,
pyramids are aligned with Sirius and Orion. Those are like the two primary controlling factions here.
yeah.
Um,
Again, and then
given that
how the people were building the pyramids in the beginning.
oh yeah.
What healthy slave are you whipping on the back to drag 80 tons across the sand and different terrain? And then you look at their toolbox and you see dental floss and chicken bones, and you're like,
Yeah,
what the
no
fuck is
way.
going on? What the
Yeah, no way. It was some sort of like advanced technology, or it was some sort of leak down. Sometimes Drumble
it,
Melchizedek says it's a leak down from like a higher dimensional plane. I just don't
yeah.
know about him. I feel like he is a shapeshifter. Plus, the Order of Melchizedek is like the biggest thing in the Luciferian. I just always got a weird vibe about his opinions, but that might be true. Like a leak down from a higher density. That's possible. It could have just manifested. I don't know. It's hard to say. Bad if they built it with some advanced technology, but what do you think?
Yeah, no, again, the possibilities are endless. I like to say I like to think that like the Earth is the Disneyland of the galaxy with like so
You
much
think
weird
so?
shit.
Or you
Yeah,
think it's
so
like a
much
prison planet? Which one do you think?
what? I'm sorry.
Do you think Earth is like a, I don't know. It seems like the average human life is like pretty miserable here. It seems like something
Oh, it
here is being
is.
also
Yeah.
negatively.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm part of that trade there.
Yeah.
It's not the best. No, I mean, I'm happy. I'm just saying. No, I know exactly what you're talking about though. Like this, yeah, why isn't like Earth the heaven that like if God made us, to be happy and want to like prosper? It's just yeah, and then you have kids
Yeah.
born
Have you
bone
heard the
cancer and
Gnostics?
shit.
Yeah. This is like a bad copy of an original reality somewhere else. It's been like hijacked by the archonic consciousness, the demiurge, Lucifer, whatever. That makes sense to me. I mean, it just seems like everything here is so ass backwards and it's intentional. And the more
It
you pay
is.
attention to what's going on, it's like a clown world. It's
Or
crazy.
what do you think about the Simpson predictions? Isn't that kind of wild?
Oh yeah, that's
Like
like, but
what
they
is
have like
that?
time travel technology. So
Yeah, what the fuck?
yeah, I mean, they obviously they both planned everything before it happens, and they also like can go into the future with like the coronavisor and other things like Project Looking Glass stuff, and literally see what's probably going to happen. They have something else that's more. I know Project Looking Glass. The problem with that is it gets influenced by your subconscious desires and beliefs. Like I know Hillary Clinton saw herself as the president. She used that technology,
Mm.
and because they have something else that's more objective, but I forgot what it's called. But they have a lot of different ways to look into the future. I mean, they use psychic children, and um, they use technologies. They use a bunch of different things. There's a whole. I'm pretty sure that I was used for something related to that actually as a kid for my
Hmm.
abilities. Yeah, but
No, that's
again, I mean,
wild.
yeah, it came into my room when I was like 4 years old, and I had no idea what was going on. And like there were these like tall beings. I didn't know they weren't human in retrospect, but like I don't know, they had some sort of something about them that kept them from seeming like they weren't human. Like that wasn't something that like dawned on me. Like it would have
Hmm.
usually. They told me they're gonna take me somewhere, and then we had to go now. And I was like, "Well, where are my parents?" And they're like, "They're already waiting for you." And I don't remember what they did or what they used. It they like somehow transported me to like this courthouse or something. It was something like that. And then I don't even like remember like what happened next. Like that's like the biggest mystery, the question mark that I have still about like things that have happened to me. They asked me to do something for them and they needed my consent, which is it sounds a lot like the secret space program, but again, I have no earthly idea. I
We
do
should
have
get
like
some
flashbacks. Yeah.
we should get
And
some
then
hypnotherapy
I
and
know I
maybe get
really
some of
need
those
to.
memories back there. That
Yeah.
seems interesting.
Yeah. I've like I don't know, I was like hanging out in a place that was called the Meridian. It was like an apartment complex, but they, as you probably know, they like name things like that like intentionally. So it was some sort of like meridian line, and I remember like having these crazy flashbacks of being in a room with a bunch of grays like on the table and something was
Hmm.
being done to me. Yeah, it's hard to say.
It's wild.
It's hard to
Why?
say. They wipe your
No,
memory.
yeah. No, again, it's the people who they go through this experiences or sometimes come out with like PTSD. You know
I
what I'm
do have
saying? Like,
PTSD, and I don't even know what it's from,
sure.
but I'm pretty sure like because of the time travel technology, it's like I think there are like multiple versions of me running around. Do you know what I mean? Because there's part of me, obviously, that's still in like a clone body or something somewhere that's like still either in outer space or like somewhere here. on a mission that I don't know about, you know what I mean? So I think like it's weird because like sometimes like it'll bleed into one another. Like I'll have like my consciousness will like not be able to contain like or whatever they did to create barriers on my mind that contain it, like they don't hold up. So like I'll have moments where like it's almost like schizophrenia. It's like they bleed into each other. It's like I can like see my other timeline because there's like a portal, and for a second it's like weird. It's like I can tell what's going on over there, or like I'll have like a panic attack and I'll be like, they're coming for me, they're coming for me, and I'm like, who is coming for me? Like I don't get it. Like I don't know. I mean, this has happened to me before I ever had a problem with like law enforcement or like anything. I got arrested for like a DUI once, but like this is like way before that. Like I would have like, oh my God, the police are coming for me, or the military are coming for me. And it's weird. It's like when you have multiple versions of you running around, it's if your consciousness is split. So like if it ever can't hold up that amnesic barrier, it can create like a real problem, which is why they say that like if it's longer than a 20 or like a 4 year period of time, it has to be in like 20-year increments. Some species can go longer, but for humans, the safe amount of time is like 20 years, because you can go like insane from these things because it's
Right.
too hard to like keep track of like what timeline you're on, or like it's hard to like if their technology slips. I mean, it's hard for you to like maintain your sanity because there's multiple versions of you doing multiple things. So
It's almost kind of like the movie Interstellar that you're just kind of describing there, you know? Yeah, there's so
really
much like, have you seen the movie?
no, that doesn't surprise me because they
Ah,
tell you what's going on through the media.
oh yeah. No, you should
Yeah.
check out Interstellar. That movie is
Okay, I'm
dope.
pretty sure I've
It
like
has
seen
it
it.
has all these awesome theories, kind of all put into one with this movie of like how, time travel and interdimensional parallel universes. And yeah, no, it's fucking wild. Again,
I'll have to look into it. I think I've seen it like once, like briefly, a long time ago. I'll
yeah,
have to look.
it's a long movie. I went to
Yeah, I
see
think
it
I
in
remember
theaters. I was like, Jesus Christ, it's like almost 4 hours long. No, I don't think it's that long, but yeah, it's a great movie. But again, it's just all these theories kind of put together of like how space travel. It's like, I like one part of the movie I liked where like they had the ship above this planet that they were going down in, but like they said every minute they spent down there, a year would pass on the ship.
Oh
So they
yeah,
were
because
only
time is like completely created by gravity, and
right.
yeah. Mm.
So again, that guy was waiting up there like for 15 years for those guys to come
Oh my
back.
gosh.
It's like, damn.
Yeah, time is so relative. It's very weird to
Yeah.
think about that. Completely
Yeah.
created by gravity, and you get into so many like weird ways of thinking when you start thinking about what that actually
Yes.
implies or what that means. I mean, even if you're at the top of the mountain, time moves a little bit slower or faster at the top of like when you like with more gravity. I think there's more time actually, so it is slower.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you would age a little bit slower if you were like living on the top of the mountain relative to in a
Yeah.
valley.
And I think people develop, yeah. And the longitude and latitude of
Hmm.
um
Yeah, it's really weird. It's not what we think it is. It's not like a static, constant thing whatsoever. And I think it's a lot more easy to manipulate than we're brainwashed to believe. I mean, I know it is. They've had time travel technology for a very long time. That's not,
yeah.
yeah. So, all these things that we're taught to think are fiction. It's sad. It's sad that people who are like brainwashed think they're intelligent for believing like in official narratives. Like I think NASA just released some stupid article about how the moon was shrinking and it was posing a threat to astronauts that are going into space. They just troll us. I swear to God, they're like
Yeah, it's so crazy. And we haven't
yeah.
been back to the moon in forever, you know? It's
Right.
just
Oh
like,
yeah, totally.
what the fuck? And
Yeah.
there's a lot of theories about the moon too, of that being an artificial base. And there's
Oh,
like
it is. Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
there's
it's a
ancient
spaceship.
cultures that talk about the
Yeah.
moon
What
was
happened
towed
when it
in
got
one
here?
day,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
You know what?
How when it got here, like the moods people were a lot worse, and like the weather got. I mean, we used to have really good weather no matter where you were year round,
Sure,
and people's
sure.
emotions were a lot more stable too. But the moon is used as a mind control device amongst other things, and I think it's a Draco installation. And I think there's something to the idea that that's what causes the reincarnation trap too. I think when you die,
Yes.
I
Oh,
had an NDE. I had a
the
really weird.
Linda Moulton Howell theory there. I love that one.
Yeah.
About the soul catching at the moon. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's an interesting theory because I always theorize that's one main reason why ETs are here on Earth, because we have this soul that kind of does
They're
reincarnate
harvesting our
itself.
energy.
You know what I'm
Of course
saying?
they
It's just
are.
like,
It's a
yeah,
predatory dimension, right? Like it should be a red flag that like a lion needs to eat a bunny to survive. It should be a red flag that we're all eating other sentient things to survive here, right? So it's predatory. So if everything here is eating something, why would we not also be being farmed? That makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah. But I think like I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. What were you
No,
gonna
you're good. I don't remember, but no, you go.
say?
You keep going. No,
Okay.
you're right. It's just the top of the food chain of these ETs who are using whatever agenda for us. If we're a slave race, I heard there's a theory with Corey Good talks about the reptilians about we're being like a slave race or even like a food source
We
to some of
are.
these ETs.
Yeah,
ETs.
absolutely. I think on a fifth dimensional level, that's the first way I ever experienced them. I was like tripping when I was like 19 and I saw them and couldn't believe
Oh
that I
shit.
saw them. And I was like, what do you want? Like, what's your deepest secret? And they told me, they like looked at each other and they're like, we have it, we don't have a soul. We want to eat every, like, we kind of want yours. And then I could like see that they were trying to like harvest it. It was like the weirdest experience of my life. Like, it was so weird.
I would have
Yeah,
ran.
I couldn't run. I was like, for some reason, I wasn't even afraid. I just didn't understand. It's like, this is bizarre.
What's happening?
But yeah, but I think fifth dimensionally they do eat our energy. But then like I know that like in the third dimension, I mean like there are Dracos that literally like they'll kill and eat people in like the worst way possible too. I mean they're really like negative entities. Honestly, there's a lot of like there's even a court document about that about how Dracos like do
Well,
horrible things. Yeah.
and I know that the Nordics are the ones that are battling them constantly.
I think the Pleiadians
You
too. Some, yeah.
the Pleiadians, yeah. Well,
Mhm.
the Nordics and the blonde, blue-haired ETs. There's one famous battle here in the U.S. I think it's the Ohio, and it's right over Serpent Mound. You know that one? A giant mound
Mm-mm.
with like a
Oh, I've heard of it. Yeah.
snake
Yeah.
eating an egg. Yeah,
Okay.
it's kind of like representing the reptilians won that round apparently, but there was a battle over that area, and that Serpent Mound is actually right on the edge of a humongous meteor crater too. So it's like
Oh,
the Native Americans knew that something happened there and it's special, and then
of
it could
course.
have been just,
Yeah. That
or
makes
it
more
could have
sense.
been just like this alien battle that happened right over there, and it made a crater, and they made they made a mound there. But again, very
Yeah,
interesting
maybe that had some
stories.
energetic impact that created special stuff going on. Yeah.
Yes. And then we have here, Wisconsin's got some ancient spots here. As to land, we have land pyramids. And we have this one place called Missouri Hill. It's kind of like a little Stonehenge with 6 foot tall little standing stone monoliths that
Wow.
one of the stones actually has a serpent carved into it.
Oh,
And
weird. What
yeah,
is that supposed to do?
I'm sorry.
What is that supposed to do?
Uh, I'm not sure. It must have some kind of religious purpose for the Native Americans at that point.
That could
Yeah,
be good or
it's
bad. It's like wisdom or is it
yeah, I
reptilians?
don't know. Again, it's just very mysterious. And then we have Rock Lake that's near there too. That has 10 pyramids on the bottom of the lake there. There's a guy named Frank Joseph who wrote 2 books on that subject. Yeah, very interesting. It's got pictures in it. Yeah, they're like elongated, stoned, stacked pyramids. I guess the first settlers that came here saw them poking out of the water, and then they were asking the natives what they were, and they said that it was the lost tribes of lost cultures of the ancient ones. I don't know. So
So vague. Who
they didn't
knows?
really know. They didn't really know much
They didn't want to
because,
share one or the other.
or that too. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of
It's like
people
the
just
white
don't want
man
to share.
here. Yeah, sure. And I could tell him everything. He's gonna kill us all here. Predict that one. But yeah, you're right. It's and then we have rock carvings here. I've shown so many pictures. I would show you, but maybe I'll show you afterwards. But
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think our audience would be like, God, he's showing this again.
Yeah.
He showed it every goddamn episode. I won't do that. I won't torture them. But no, yeah, this is a rich history here. Do you know if there's any ancient spots in Michigan where you're at right
Michigan?
now? Yeah.
Man, I haven't looked into like the history of Michigan to that
Oh,
extent. I
well.
apologize.
Oh, you got
Yeah,
to get out
archaeology.
there, girl.
Hmm?
I said you got to get out there, girl.
Oh, I know. I've like more like I've heard of individual experiences. Like for instance, my friend had like 5 hours of missing time.
Oh, let's hear about
And
this.
yeah, and then like she did a hypnotic regression and she saw that she had been operated on by the Greys. They had taken her, abducted her, wiped her memory on her back, and and her friends also got hypnosis and they had the same experience. And what's really weird is they like took biopsies of her ovaries. So I believe they're doing something reproductive with her. and
Oh
they
man.
inverted her intestines because they want to deal with like the colon and the over that because they're doing like their races they're concerned about the longevity of their race. They've been using rDNA to create hybrids. So they had used her for that program and they literally inverted her small and large intestine while they were at it. And I believe that the hospital was in on it because they wouldn't let her see this. They wouldn't let her see what it looked like. And that hospital has done some other like really sketchy stuff too. So
Weird.
yeah, right. I know like, a couple of girls, and they're all dancers too. I've been feeling the Grays like to take people who would be easily discredited. Like they're not gonna take I mean, unless you're
Right.
like in the intelligence community, they're not gonna take like a lawyer who has like a high standing usually, or someone like that, because it's I think they like to mess with people that are easily discredited. Like that girl's also been involved in a lot of my labs, and
Well, these ETs do mate with human women, so I mean, they would take the ones they find attractive. So
yeah.
I won't
If you
blame
know
them.
Tony
Jesus Christ.
Rodriguez, Tony Rodriguez, him.
Sounds familiar.
He's a he was basically from Michigan. I had like lunch with one time, and he was talking about how when he got back from his 20 and back, the aliens decided that he was going to be part of their breeding program. So like he would have sex with like random people. I'm sure he's okay. I'm sure this isn't private information. He's given it before. He would like have sex with people, and then like they'd be 2 weeks late on their period, and then they would magically get it. And what would happen is the aliens would harvest the growing fetus and like
Oh shit.
yeah, take it. Yeah. And then like, the girl would be like none the wiser that it happened.
Huh.
They play around, they told him you qualified for our breeding program, congratulations and have fun. And they would also abduct him in his sleep and like have him have sex with like random like yeah, it's pretty wild.
Oh. Well,
Yeah,
I
or you
haven't.
see someone in his dreams and then you meet them a couple weeks later and that would happen. They've had.
That's pretty crazy because there's an incident that happened in Australia back in I think it was the 2000s sometime. Anyways, his name is Peter Curry, and he has the holy grail of alien DNA. So he it was 7 o'clock in the morning, and he was in bed and he's sleeping, and he noticed something jumped on his bed like a cat, and he's like, "I don't own a cat." And he wakes up and he notices a beautiful woman straddling him as like milky white skin, white blonde hair, is like super white blonde,
One of
and
them
he
order.
yeah, like a Nordic type, but you could tell his certain features are kind of elongated a little bit, but still beautiful. He's just like, whoa, and well proportioned, he said too. And he noticed there's another woman that kind of looked like the same one sitting on the bed beside watching. And he's just like, what the
Oh,
how'd you get in here? What the fuck? And he starts to
yeah.
get up, and this woman cups the back of his head and pulls her into her breast, and he's trying to fight back. He's like, I need to get out. I can't breathe. And he
Oh,
bites
weird.
down on her. He bites down on her breast, and he gets a little flesh in his mouth, and it burns his throat. And he starts having this reaction of coughing. And these women are like looking all at each other, like all concerned. And then he hears the voices of them saying, he's doing this wrong. He's doing this wrong. And then they just like disappeared out of thin air. And he noticed that he
What
had
in
a
the world? How do you
he
process
no, check
that?
this out. He noticed that he had a boner for like 6 hours, and it was excruciating. And he says, and he noticed when he looked closer to his penis, there's something wrapped around his penis, like it was a hair. It was like an indent, like if you stuck your nail into your skin, it leaves a little
Yeah.
dent. It was something like it was indented into his. He said when he was unraveling this thing, it was so painful ripping this thing off his dick. But when he did, it relieved his boner. So again, it's just like, whoa.
Oh wow.
So he got this,
Wow.
he brought this to scientists, and they found like these crazy properties to this hair. It was like from like ancient species of like humanoid men, like from like, mixed with some Chinese with some like African pygmy and like weird,
What in the
crazy
world?
shit. And then it had like the reason why it was white because it didn't need much sun or wherever it came from.
Okay, yeah.
So
I've heard
again,
like
again, this guy has the holy grail. Like this thing kept his boner up so they can have sex with him. You know what I'm saying? Like that
that's
is
insane.
gnarly.
Yeah. Sounds like extreme energetic properties. And I feel like humans have more things that are going on like that, or like more abilities. Were we not 98% shut down by whatever did that to us a long time ago? Like only 2% of our DNA is even active, right? So what would we have going for us if we even had access to like 10% more of DNA? you know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
maybe we'd have abilities like that. They're weird. I'm sure we would.
I was gonna say
Apparently,
it's
all fans are all knowing. What?
I was gonna say too that like it's just throughout history that like angels have been mating with us and like giant
Yeah,
or creating
absolutely.
giants on earth and stuff like that. These all these stories of reasons why they wanted to and it's just so hard to like say what the fuck, and especially with these alien abductions too, like the similar stories of what was written in the past. um Very phenomenal. And I interviewed a few other people who claimed to have sex. Yeah, they all came from Australia, believe it or not. Something's
I thought
popping
we were
all
at
in
Christmas
Australia.
bar.
When I brought that Peter Curry story up, all these girls were like, you know what? I had sex with a Pleiadian. I'm like, you did? Let's hear more detail on that one.
I had
And
sex with a
yeah,
literal reptilian shapeshifter once.
yeah.
Like, freaking, yeah, like the dude from Smashing Pumpkins, like that level weird. Yeah. Like he also claimed the same thing. Like he had sex with a woman and then she shapeshifted mid-sex. Like I had the same experience actually. So
Oh,
yeah.
well, if you want to share.
Well, I mean, it was a guy that he said that I had been his Grail maiden in a past life, and that no, that wasn't what he said. He said I was his Starfire maiden, which is a thing from Sirius. So there's this ritual, and the elite still do it, and Hollywood still does it with period blood, where like if a girl has DNA from Sirius, they can take her blood on certain dates and then contact beings on Sirius through like a ritual that they do, and it involves like sex magic. And Crowley was really into it, and I have Sirius DNA. That's like another thing that I've learned. Like if you look at my astrology chart, like I have a bunch of planets that are aligned with Sirius, and I have one conjunction in particular that's very rare that signals like a huge. I have it in the right sign, and it's conjunct with my midheaven, my Jupiter, and my Mars, which means like you're really connected to Sirius. So um, I didn't know it, but he did. So he's like, he used to be in a past life my Starfire maiden, and he was a Demetici, but he was like under like, it was a clone. First of all, he had like a chip in the back of his head. They kept him from shapeshifting all the time, and it's also like,
Whoa.
yeah, there's like, I
Huh.
know Paula and Aaron Kuhn like on their Journey to Truth podcast did like a whole thing about clones, and I didn't know that's what it was until I watched their documentary. But apparently, like, um, there was a whole kind of like I don't know how you describe this. There's a whole display of how they do the cloning thing, and a lot of times they put a chip in the back of the person's head
Yes.
to carry their memories. So I didn't know, but it was like a reptilian clone of like a Medici, and it was sent to me, and he told me specifically that like in a past life he and I had like done some rituals together, and that he was so excited to see me again, and it turned into like this weird thing where I
Whoa.
was just curious more, and I was experimental at that point in time. I really didn't look at sexuality the way that most people did. I mean, if anything, I was dancing and like I just saw it as like experimental and like intellectual at that point in time. I kind of have a way different, now that I'm a little older, like 8 years older, like it's different. But when I was
Sure.
like 21, I saw it differently. So I was like, sure. So like I wasn't even like really attracted to him, but I just kind of like we were just I don't know, I just ended up having sex with him, and in the middle of like he just turned into like a 12-foot reptilian. Like overlaid his entire body. I couldn't unsee it. It was the weirdest thing I've ever experienced in my life. Like just so odd. And then like the other thing was in my mind's eye and actually in the mirror as well. I was seeing myself as like a shapeshifter from Sirius. I could
Whoa.
see dancing in my mind's eye, and then I could see it in the mirror. And I asked him if he could see it, and he said yes. And like, so apparently, like he was doing some ritual thing where he needed to like get in contact with Sirius or someone on Sirius or me. I don't know. Like, I don't know if it was like a time portal where like he and I had sex like as a reptilian and as a Syrian being like in a past life, and that memory is like being brought up and like came into the present moment, or if it was we were seeing our true form of some kind, or some other incarnation of us. I don't know. It was like the weirdest thing I've ever experienced in my life. But then I learned that I was from Sirius because later I was just randomly browsing online, looking at an artist's channeled artistic renderings of beings that were from planet Sirius, and I just happened to find the one that I shapeshifted into. And like that's
Wow.
so weird because it aligns with the Starfiler ritual, which is Sirius. Tyler Paula put that together. Like that's something when they want to contact a being from Sirius, they get period blood from a woman that has DNA from Sirius, and then they like make the contact through like a magical ritual. And that's exactly what happened, which is just the weirdest thing.
Whoa.
Yeah. And like back when like they were doing MK Ultra on me, they tried to like make a program in me where like they get me to die in a ritual. This sounds so out there, I know, but they to get you to Sirius when you die, you have to die in a ritual that's involving fire. So when they were doing my MK Ultra programming, they put a program in me to self-destruct and like light myself on fire if I didn't do what they wanted. I remember.
Whoa.
Yeah, and like that was really weird too. That's another thing that Journey to Truth's like music industry podcast covered briefly. So
Yeah.
it all adds up, and like yeah, so there's some sort of connection between my family and like Sirius, and that's why they were interested in my family for like, the intelligence community and all that.
Hmm.
So
That's
yeah,
very, very interesting. And you know, it made me think too, like, because I see you have a pet. Do you have a pet snake? Is
I
that your
do.
boa?
Yeah,
Is that? And I see at the snake there too. I also have a snake tattooed on my hand there.
that's
But yeah,
awesome.
very cool.
Well,
And
Grace to
so it makes
Colorado.
me wonder too. Do you think that has some inner, something came from 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 that? You know what I'm saying? Like your interest in snakes and just because the link to the reptilians there.
No, I wasn't even like attracted to him. Like I don't even know why I did that. Like that. Like, I don't know. The reptilians are like interested in me because I've like made so many
Sure.
contacts with them. I think it's again because I'm from my government. Like I have some sort of history, unfortunately, where like I know I probably
Right.
was like helping that. I mean, like because again, I God, my whole story is like so wild. I apologize, but like when I was like 19, like I got a really weird email like asking me if I wanted to like be part of the entertainment industry that like they knew I was gonna be great at it, and like they've been, they have technology to watch everybody, and they knew I was gonna be fantastic, and like I think I probably was honestly like I thought it was a joke, but like from the reptilian thing, and like I was a Starfire Maiden, I've seen myself be able to do that ritual. I know they do that in Hollywood a lot, and like honestly, pretty much all the women represented in red in Hollywood. You know how everybody's like always in red, the girl in the red dress,
Yeah.
like the Scarlet Woman, Babylon, the Sacred Whore. They're representing that in, like every single music video that you see from Hollywood. Everybody, that's serious. The Sacred Whore is serious. Like I have this tattoo, and I saw it psychically, and I didn't know what it was actually,
Wow.
but it's
It's
actually a
beautiful.
trolley for the goddess of the Sacred Whore, or like Sirius.
That's
Um,
dope.
yeah, and like it just came to me in a vision. Like I didn't even know what the fuck it was, and then I got it tattooed because I was told to by his being. I wasn't questioning whether or not what I was hearing was good or bad at that time, so I just did it. And yeah, it relates to Crowley, and of course Crowley created Hollywood, and like all the magic that you see there, and like the Beast and Babylon are like what you see repetitively in like every single music video or thing like in Hollywood. So yeah, so I'm pretty sure I was, and I'm pretty sure they like wanted me to do it again. And so I think I've probably been involved with like some darker things and some past incarnations. And I think a lot of my problems in this life came from like me saying no. So that email or like a lot of different or so like choosing something else, choosing not to do
Yeah.
that. Yeah, but I think like the reptilians continue to interest in me and like all my experiences with that, which I mean I haven't had a lot more than what I've explained, but like I'm pretty sure that comes from the choices that I used to make like, in past lives, unfortunately. So I don't know. Because I don't know. It's hard for me to say, but I was born into a strange family to not have been involved in that stuff.
Sure.
And I know I have DNA from my Sirius. So, and Sirius and Orion are the two major controlling factions here. So, um,
Dang. Well, you are
my
very knowledgeable.
that.
You know your shit when it comes to the reptilians, man. Holy
Yeah,
shit.
yeah. I know, but they don't ever give me problems. I think it's because like I
Why
don't
why
know.
wouldn't they? Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's very, very interesting. And the fact that your family has a long history with the military and the
Yeah,
CIA.
my aunt works with reptilians, and so did my uncle. I don't
Yeah.
know about my cousin. My cousin says she hated it though. She didn't, whatever she had to do, she didn't want to talk about it or ever do it again. She was really agitated whenever you mention anything about
Are you
aliens.
are you a fan of Bob Lazar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I love his stories, like Jesus, right? Like to actually touch and like try to reverse engineer these fucking craft. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
I'd be
that's
tripping
wild.
out and like trying to keep your mouth shut the whole time. Well, obviously he couldn't anymore. He's just like, fuck that. I think the
Right.
here I think everybody on earth needs to know about this shit.
I
And
think sometimes they give people back their memories or like allow them to do that too, because they're really trying to slowly make the public aware. I think that's happening. Why that article came out from Harvard. Yeah, but
mhm. Yeah, no, it's I think it's just a slow drip of disclosure, especially when Congress is now talking about this. And
yeah,
now
right.
it's not like the crazy farmer that has to prove that UFOs exist. Like
Yeah,
now it's
Grush, the
Congress that has to
CIA.
prove that
Yeah,
UFOs don't exist. So it's like, fuck you. Yeah,
yeah.
see ya.
That was the CIA dude too, David Grush. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Hmm.
And yeah, I can imagine being those pilots too that saw that tic tac that coming out of that water and doing all those crazy maneuvers, like
Yeah, that was part of the
fuck.
Congress hearing too. They said
Yeah.
that 95% of like crafts they don't recognize, they don't report. So
Isn't that gnarly? And
yeah.
then we had like a string like in the beginning of the year, shoot, or is it beginning of the year or 2 years ago, shooting down UFOs and shit. Like, what the fuck was that? Over or they were shot down that Chinese balloon first, and then there was all these other like it was like I think it was a cigar shaped one, and there was a triangle one. Then it was a octagon shaped one. That it actually the octagon one they shot down was near Michigan. They took jets that came out of Madison here at a base to shoot that down. Again, it's very interesting, and they don't talk about recovering any of this shit. It's like
A
what?
lot of it gets lost in
It's
the ocean too. Speaking of that, yeah, exactly. I think the ocean is one of the big ways they hide this because like
oh yeah,
95% of the ocean is undiscovered. Which I mean,
yeah.
that's a big place that like these UFOs are going
Yeah,
and stuff like that.
my God, from since the dawn of time, that's again perfect spot to hide out and do your own projects. What do you think all those bizarre fish are down there? Like you think the octopus too? They think they came from space off a asteroid. Panspermia. 'Cause there's no fossil record of the octopus. And then there's like the eels. They talk about these eels from all around the world go back to the Bermuda Triangle to mate because there's once an asteroid that must have crash landed there that makes them have that breeding ground. But yeah, saltwater to freshwater, all these fucking eels fucking go. And then that's another thing. They're like unisex. They don't have like breeding apparatuses.
Really?
And then there's making babies like I don't know, the Virgin Mary.
Wow.
I don't
I've
know. It's
heard
really
rumors that
weird.
one of these is parthenogenic or something.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah, it's other animals. I think there's other snakes and other I think lizards like geckos.
That makes
That
sense.
are
Yeah, they can regrow body parts.
right. They can just
Because they're
reproduce.
actually. I'm sorry.
No, you're right. Just amazing that these reptiles can just reproduce without having a mate. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
it's kind of like the dinosaur theory at Jurassic Park.
That has a lot to do with meridians and like electromagnetic stimulation in the mitochondria. Um, yeah, they have like because that's your link to your subtle body or like the quantum field, so they're more easily able to regenerate because of the microcurrent level that they have. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of theories that we would be able to do this thing. We had the correct microcurrents, and it's been successful in some preliminary studies where people can heal a lot faster if microcurrents are applied to the region. So interesting.
Ironically, wasn't it like the Spider-Man movie where he was battling the Lizard Man, and that was the main reason why
Yeah,
this
yeah, I'm
Lizard
telling you,
Man
like
was trying
every
to
single movie you see is like a
recreate an arm for
disclosure.
himself?
Totally. Yeah, like they know that's how they disclose most of the stuff that they're doing is through
Mm,
what they're
the
releasing in
movies.
Hollywood or yeah, through
We
any
should,
sort of media.
we should have listened to E.T. back in the day. That movie's dope. I haven't seen that movie in forever.
Yeah, I saw that movie when I was like 5 or 6. Yeah.
Yeah. I watched on I think it was the day before um, um the 4th of July was Independence Day. That Will Smith
Oh
movie.
yeah.
I haven't seen that movie in forever. That movie's has some cheesy lines in it, but
Oh, I
again,
think
it's
I
just a cool concept.
like this.
No, that's it. I was gonna say this is a cool concept for a movie.
Yeah, it was. Isn't that the one where like that was the alien invasion, right?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. They also did that fake alien invasion in the 50s over the radio, didn't they?
That's right. You know that people committed suicide during that time too.
Jeez, people are so like easy to brainwash. They don't think critically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, it's not too far fetched too. It's like
No, you're right. Yeah, you're right. But like,
for some of those people, it's like, oh my God, that's shit.
people are so
And
highly stressful though, and they don't understand how highly stressful they actually they actually are. You know.
yeah. But yeah, no, you got to keep your eyes to the sky. There's a guy that we had on our program, and he talks about the invisible highway. There's a constant flow of UFOs leaving and coming to Earth every damn day. And he's just like, just throw your camera in slow motion mode and you'll eventually catch one. And shit you not, that's what I've done. I've done that
Really?
recently. Yeah, I don't know if you saw on my Facebook a while ago. It was on May 21st. Um, there's a humongous storm here in Madison. There's like lightning and shit. I was trying to catch some lightning on my slow motion camera or on my iPhone. So, anyways, I was just aiming at the sky and I caught some lightning. I was like, oh, awesome. So I run back inside and I look, and shit, there's a fucking flying saucer goes from the left, come right up.
Oh
It
yeah,
was
I did see that.
perfect.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. So
They're making contact with you for sure. Like they know
yeah,
that you see them.
I've
Whatever.
been told that, like, yeah, by star seeds that if they know that I'm amplifying their existence with, talking about
Yeah,
them
they're making
constantly.
contact just because they're aware. They're like, they're all like pretty telepathic. They have more abilities than we do. Yeah. But
You're
of
right.
course, and I just can't, it's crazy to me that anyone wouldn't believe in it. Like what are the cross symbols done? Like they're documenting, their comings and goings, clearly. We're probably
Yeah.
trying to document which timeline they're in too. Like, oh, this is the timeline where this happened. I've seen some people from the secret space program that have tattoos the year that they came from too. On a different note, there was a guy that was like a surveillance dude that used to work at 7-Eleven. It took me forever to put this together, and he had like a tattoo of 2038 on him. And like asked him why he had that, and he's like, "There's a lot of good music that came out this year." He was like trying to see if I would know what he was talking about. I realized in retrospect, but yeah, I mean, like they have like. So I know that some of the people that are in these programs too, they use like timeline markers. So I think it's crop circles for the aliens, and then it could be like tattoos for people. I know they don't really like tattoos that much in the secret space program. I think they do use them for keeping track of people or different clone bodies or whatever. Yeah.
Well, across my lower stomach, I have 1848
Oh, do you? Yeah.
tattooed on me.
Yeah, but okay, but it's different. Like this guy, the way he said it, you know what I mean? I can just like feel okay. Yeah. There are other weird things in the day. But no, I
No,
don't think.
no,
I
it's
don't know.
good.
Joe Biden always jokes he's been a senator for 378 years, so I think he's joking.
Yeah, no, it's cool. Yeah, I wish I could remember any of my past lives, if I did have any. I'm sure I have,
Great. Oh,
but
you did. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We
there's
all
one
have.
case. There's one case in India that I thought was very interesting, where this girl who was like 5 years old tells her parents that, you know what, I remember something, like I have a husband, I have father and mother-in-law, I have sisters and shit, and she names this town that's like nearby, and she's like, and she starts naming these people too, their parents. She's like, there's no way, you know these people. And she's like, her parents were enough convinced, like, okay, show us this house. And she goes to this
Oh my
to
gosh.
this village, knocks at the door, is like, hey, that's my husband, blah blah blah, there's my sister and then
What did the
fucking
husband
mother-in-law.
say?
Just blown away. But
I
again, this
bet. How do you
family
react to that?
so this
Hey,
whole
honey,
family
you're like girls now.
adopted this girl as their reincarnated daughter, or
What? They let
so
her be
she
adopted?
no,
I
they
guess.
just go back and forth, just
Okay.
because this girl
Yeah.
obviously knew this family
God,
from
I
her
don't know how
past
I feel
life.
about raising my ex-husband. Like every night.
Yeah, I don't know about bringing my
Oh
5-year-old
man,
to
a
this
little
random
weird.
stranger's house.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you guys used to hang out and live together
Yeah.
and
I
had
was
sex with
definitely
this guy.
bonding.
He's got a lazy eye. No, no, it's yeah, it's really interesting. Especially when like you hear other kids talk about like World War II crashes, like getting
Yeah.
shot down,
Oh,
and
that's a whole other thing. We lost the Dracos. That was like the secret thing that actually happened. America didn't even win. The Hitler and the Nazis had
oh
hacks
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
Dracos. Yeah. And we actually turned into the Nazis. That's why like you see so many secret Nazi signs and like everything that's going on right now.
yes.
Yeah. That's a big intelligence secret. Yeah.
Well, Operation Paperclip that's
Yeah,
true.
that was like
That's
of course that's just like the bare minimum. It's kind of like them telling us, oh,
yes,
we've seen spiders on Mars. No, there are huge spiders on Mars that people have to
yeah,
fight off. Yeah. No, we don't
yes.
just have spiders. Yeah. So that's like their little cover, but yeah, it's a lot deeper. Yeah. So
No, I heard about the giant spiders in space too.
yeah, the Mars is like
And
populated with
then
huge
there's
insect
even
life.
like secret space program whistleblowers who talk about the space spiders and
Yeah,
battling them
Tony
and stuff like
Rodriguez is
that.
one of those people.
And
Aries
it's like,
Prime is the capital of Mars. Yeah.
Right. No, that's really interesting. You know, and if you knew, Netflix came out with a movie with Adam Sandler. It's a serious Adam Sandler. It's not a comedy, but he's like out trapped in space, and he's interacting with this giant tarantula that's trapped in with him. And it makes you wonder if
Yeah, they
it's
love
all in
that.
his mind that he's seeing this giant tarantula, or is he's, what you hear and like from these whistleblowers. Again, like you're saying, like Hollywood kind of likes to rub it in your face a little bit. Um, yeah, this makes you think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
mean, they're doing that on purpose. They're definitely huge spiders on Mars. They're a big problem. Yeah.
yeah, that'd be so fucking terrifying to see
I
something
know,
that
I
crazy.
wouldn't, God, I don't even know. Maybe that's where my fear of spiders comes from. Actually, yeah. No
Yeah,
thanks. My worst nightmare.
yeah. Not a fan of spiders either. No, it makes you think too, like what other weird plant life too could be out there, because there's so much weird plants here, and like fungus. I can imagine like weird avatar looking planets have like glowing
Oh my
plants,
goodness, yeah,
and
that would be
like,
so interesting to see.
you know
There are definitely places a lot prettier than Earth, not to be offensive, but yeah, I've like traveled there astrally a lot. Earth is just too, I mean, like, there's just too much pollution, there's too much negativity. It
there
dilutes the
is.
beauty of a lot of different places. Not as good, I just, you can tell that I don't mean to sound ungrateful, but there's better, you know? It's just not, like, it's too diluted by everything that's going on here, industrially and all, the rest of it.
Yeah. You know if there's any like good ghost stories out of Michigan, or any like
Ghosts,
Bigfoot sightings? Yeah,
Bigfoot, and ghosts. Gosh, like I don't really study like the history of places. I more so like collect people's personal experiences with things
sure,
for my
sure.
own. So I don't really like know. I mean, I'm sure there are obviously, probably, yeah, a lot. What do you even think a ghost is fundamentally? Do you think it's
You
like
know,
the charming, where it's like something happened a long time ago and like
yeah,
it's the energy of the place? Because I mean, you can like fight with somebody and then like you leave and then you come back and you realize the energy is still like there's like
yes.
friction in the room, right? So is it some sort of iteration of that that's a little bit more intense, or is it actually like a soul that like is like trapped or like left behind or a part of a person's soul?
Yeah,
I
no,
tend to think it's like a part of the person's soul. It can't be the totality of it, but
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
No, again, there's so many different theories, and yeah, I kind of like to be drawn into like, I haven't had any paranormal experiences myself. My dad, when he was little, had an experience himself, and it kind of sounded like, what he described was very interesting. Him and his cousin were sitting at the house waiting for hearing a phone call from their mother, knowing that their grandfather is in the in the hospital dying. So when he passed, they get a phone call that he passed and they're coming home soon. And when he hung up the phone, him and his cousin heard their grandpa's workshop in the basement, him banging away on a hammer and sawing and shit. Enough where they're screaming and crying, holding each other in the corner of the room. Like grandpa's down there fucking with them. You know what I'm saying? So it makes you wonder too, like, is there something that draws us where you don't think you're dead and you're coming back to finish projects, finish something, or even watching your loved ones grow? Do you get
Yeah.
choices to go to
I
the
mean,
light
definitely
or
you have a
just
life
stay here?
review. You definitely have a life review. When your life ends, like what I saw my NDE is like, man, this is not unique to me. If you look at anybody's near death experience, gonna include a life review. Like you see everything you did, but from the other person's perspective.
Sure.
So I don't know if like that's some sort of iteration of that. Like there's so many things it could be. There's also like astral projection. There's
Yes.
demonic entities that can pose as somebody too, and then like I don't know. It's hard to say, honestly. It is. But it's probably a part of somebody's soul. Your soul is like this huge infinite thing that is like trapped in certain moments, and I imagine that it probably wouldn't impede the next incarnation, but perhaps like there were that person would experience like a sense of like soul fragmentation, the same way the traumatized person would in this life. It's like and somebody needs to do work on that area to like free that person's soul from like whatever experience is like holding them back in that one part of time. Probably, I would think.
Yeah. No, again, there's just so many different theories. And then like hearing that the moon might take our soul after we die is kind of
I think
terrifying,
so.
right?
Yeah, I
Like,
think so.
we don't have
I'll
no
be
choice on that.
yeah, another thing I saw in my interview that was really weird at the end of it, like, cause I went through a lot in that process, but at the end of it, when I saw that everybody had to come back, they're going through like a thing that was like an axe. It was like a machine, some sort of technology that was like splitting a person's consciousness from like, cause 12 strand DNA, like, you know, everything, right? You're all knowing. It's
Mhm.
like it splits you from that back into like 2 strand DNA or something. It looked like some sort of technology. And you had to be pushed towards it and it physically hurts to go through it. And it's like you're getting severed from like the greater part of yourself. And then like this small part of yourself that doesn't know anything and thinks it's just this one limited body is like what's left. And that has to go back into like this reality. And then you get stuck here again. And like no one's happy to go through it. It actually physically is painful and it's spiritually painful too, which is even worse. And like the thing that was like leading me to it last time, they looked like military people, which I find bizarre. And we know that they're on the moon, right? Like the military and like certain people, like they're on the moon. Like, so why it's weird that like it included like I can't figure out what people that look like police officers are like popping me and like leading me towards this machine. It's gonna take me back into it.
Mhm.
You know? That's what I saw. So I thought that was weird. I do think that it had, and I do think I was on the moon or something. Or that's what I was having flashbacks to, whatever. So I don't know, that sounds crazy, but I do think there's something to do with like I even think the government's not involved with it because I think that they're part of like well everything's going on the moon soul reincarnation and Anunnaki whatever's feeding off of our negative energy here. Yeah, I think
Hmm.
it's this sort of like weird prison planet. Honestly, I think that's my theory. And that sounds really crazy, but I'm gonna roll with it. That's what I
Yeah.
saw. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And I don't know if you knew that Michigan Lake has weird phenomenons where they call it the Michigan Triangle, where like ships
No, I had
and
no idea.
airplanes and even people who are just swimming in that area just get swallowed up and
Oh wow.
disappear.
Well, like Detroit has a Stargate. Like they have a
Huh?
literal right in front of this Scientology building,
Oh,
the
cool.
portal, and it's like a literal. It says something like that. It's like a Stargate, and like if you know how to work with like the energies of it, it'll take you somewhere else. It's
Right.
weird. Yeah.
And like I find that Scientology is kind of odd too, and has some
Scientology's
and it
totally in
has
on. Yeah.
and it has some stems in like ancient astronauts and shit, you
Oh
know,
yeah.
like
Yeah, they think that they're like into all that weird alien. Like their whole foundational ideology at the like surface level has to do with aliens, like
yeah.
reincarnation, right? I forget exactly how, but yeah, definitely. And they have
Well,
like all
even the
this shit.
Mormons too have some stem
Yeah, they're in on it too.
in
Absolutely.
I think their god
They're
comes
in
from
the
like
SRA
planet
too.
Cola or something like that.
Yeah, pretty much any religion that has to do with aliens has something to do with like the Luciferian Brotherhood and the Illuminati and the government and stuff that's going on. People being trafficked. Yeah, yeah. That's the thing. Is a lot of these aliens that are involved in that are like really negative. Not that there aren't positive ones, but I think I'm more familiar with negative. But yeah.
No, it's so interesting. And again, I just love meeting like-minded people like yourself that have these kind of discussions and just throw around these ideas and theories because again, it is endless and like on what can be really going on. And it's just these things just like to come and fuck with us and have their own agendas. And we could just be this human zoo that they're just experimenting us. Or you know what? I like to think too that the Russians call themselves the cosmonauts, right? And I think that they're going home. They're returning home to the stars. So it's like that kind of poeticness that we're this lost race of ETs that crash landed here on Earth that like lost technology that had to start from scratch and kind of had wars against each other because we couldn't understand each other anymore because the lack of years of between, this weird shit of theories of like,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, we definitely have a lot of different ET races that are blended into our DNA. Yeah,
mhm,
that makes sense. And human is a pretty universal archetype, I think, too.
right.
So,
Even
yeah.
I love the Anunnaki story too of like how their planet was deteriorating of materials where they saw it was very rich here on Earth of gold and other raw materials that they needed for their planet to rebuild and stuff like that. But they saw that it was all here and they saw this Homo erectus that wasn't too smart. So they threw their DNA into them and they're like, hey, you're gonna be a slave race for us while we hold grown lions in our laps like kittens. And yeah. Just amazing stories. And it makes sense to me because yeah, it's not too benevolent. It's kind of like you're
Yeah.
a slave race, and we're just gonna leave you here when we're done with you.
But we
to
are
fight.
gonna get out of that. I think we're like waking up collectively. So not to leave things
Yes,
on a negative note, but yeah.
that's right. It's like people like you and me that have conversations like this that get the
Yeah, it does
people's
it, right?
gears
Yeah.
going. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it's really cool. No, again, I was very intrigued that you reached out to me, uh, just asking some general questions on what you might have thought your experience, and I asking you to be on my podcast. And again, I'm so glad that you joined, and you had so many stories, and you're very knowledgeable of what's going on in the secret space programs and other craziness in this world, and just the mysteries, like it's just
Yeah.
the fun. I think it's actually fun to think about this shit. It makes
I
life
do
a little
too.
bit more interesting a little bit.
And it's
So
the most important thing you can think about is what's gonna happen next, right?
it's true.
I think so.
Very true.
Yeah.
No, it's very, very true. But yeah, is there any like um places where people can reach you or want to like follow you, or if you have any
Just
like
Facebook right now. I used to have a TikTok, but it got taken down because I was saying too much. My shit gets monitored and like taken down and like shadow banned so quickly. But
wow.
yeah, so I mean, I invested maybe a month in my TikTok and it got taken down. Instagram, I think Phoenix Lux 777, Phoenix Lux on Facebook. It's pretty much it
Okay.
right now. I'm focused on my master's degrees, so I haven't like made a social media platform. But yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate
Yeah.
it. My phone's
Yeah.
about to die. So yeah.
No, again, I'm glad I was your very first podcast. So it's I'm glad I can knock the edge off a little bit there.
Yeah, it
So
was so fun
yeah,
to talk to you. Yeah.
yeah. Well, hey, I want you to stay with me for 2 more minutes. And
Okay.
yeah,